Welcome back to another episode of Navigating Single Fatherhood. I'm your host, J. Lewis III. This show is dedicated to helping single fathers to better navigate their path when it comes to their single father journeys. I want to talk about the mask, taking the mask off sometimes, or having your need to take that mask off. There are two reasons single fathers wear masks. First off, we all wear a mask. No matter what, we wake up in the morning, we want to be somebody we need to be. Some people want to be somebody else. So there's a mask, but that's a whole different story here. I want to have a conversation about the mask that a single father wears, but more importantly, I want to have a conversation about the mask that an absentee single father wears. These are two different scenarios. A single father that's made the decision to step up in his child's life and to be there for his kids, he's wearing a mask because it's armor-like. He's stepping up, chest out, shoulders back, head up high. No matter what pressure he is feeling, he does not want to admit that to his kids. Emitting negative vibrations will counter your effects when it comes to parenting. As a single father, you have got to step up. And sometimes you got to put on a mask. You got to put on that illusion. Even when you're feeling at your lowest, you got to step up to the plate and do what you got to do. That mask, it's needed. Again, you need your armor to step up and face the day, handle the circumstances. But then you got that single father who is an absentee father. And he wears a mask too. The mask of a single father is a mask of protection. Whereas the mask of an absentee father, it's one that they're hiding. They're hiding from themselves and they're hiding from the world. When you are an absentee father and you're making that choice to hide from the world, you're causing a detriment not only to yourself, but to your children as well. They're not seeing the real person you are. And when they don't see the real person you are, they feel like, daddy's not doing this thing. And that gives them permission to go out and do their thing. They're not getting any guidance. They're not getting any support. You got on a mask that is full of excuses, full of blame. You're procrastinating. You're not stepping up and taking responsibility for your actions. You're using your mask to hide from all that. That mask becomes heavy over time. Initially, you may be able to wear that mask with no problem. But over time, that mask starts to chip away and it becomes a true problem. You're in a position where you're not admitting that there are things that you need to do. You spend that time hiding from yourself, hiding your fault from everybody else. Even though they see them, you're making this feeble attempt by putting on that mask to hide it from everybody. Things like making excuses. When you're quick to say, it's my baby's mother's fault, the law, all these different things, there may be some truth to that. The real truth lies in the fact that you're not admitting to yourself. You're not taking responsibility. I was talking to this gentleman and he was really pissed off about the fact that his daughter was stripping at a strip club. That would piss anybody off. So I know if my kids, either of them would decide that they were going to strip at a strip club, I'd be upset. So he was within his right. But then he didn't understand something. It was his poor decisions that led to her actions. He eventually admitted that and understood. But let me tell you how the scenario played out. This guy went out with a couple of his friends and they wanted to blow off some steam. So they was like, let's go to a strip club, get a couple of drinks, hang out. My man was like, all right, no problem. So they get to the strip club. They're sitting at the bar doing their thing. One of his boys looks at the stage and is like, yo, isn't that your daughter right there? My man turned around. He saw his 17-year-old daughter on the strip pole. He was pretty heated at that point because all these guys in the strip club, they're ogling his daughter. He's just beside himself with frustration. He said that him and his daughter locked eyes, but she ignored him, went on, kept doing her thing. A couple days later, he calls her and he's trying to touch base with her. Now, mind you, he did not spend time in her life. He had 2 children, boy and a girl, and he wasn't stepping up to handle his responsibilities. This is where I tell people the mask that you're wearing, it can be plastered to your face if you don't step up and handle your responsibility. So he was sitting there. What he said to himself was, man, this is not a good look. Like I said, he called his daughter and he asked, why you doing this? And she said to him, she said, Dad, you have a grandson. I got a kid. My man didn't even know he had a grandchild. And she said, Daddy, I got to do what I got to do. I got to take care of my baby. She was 17. She had dropped out of high school when she got pregnant. The baby's daddy wasn't stepping up. And she was having issues with her mother because her mother was like, I'm young and I'm about to have a grandbaby. So now she has this grandbaby. The turmoil in the house between the daughter and the mother, it's pretty harsh. The daughter's talking to the dad like, look, you have not been here. You don't know what goes on in my world. I was doing what I needed to do. The man said that conversation changed his life because he realized that for years he had been wearing this mask of blaming and not taking responsibility, and realized that me doing that, not only did it cost me my relationship with my daughter, but it cost me valuable time with my grandchild. So what he did was he called his baby's mother. He talked to her. He didn't get wild on her. He didn't get upset. He just said, what can I do to help this situation? Because you're dealing with 2 kids and a grandkid on your own. I haven't been there. They talked and they worked out a plan. They decided to take a co-parenting situation. They weren't together, but this man had to do one of 2 things. Either admit that it was his actions that led to the circumstance, or just keep denying it. Luckily, this brother stepped up and said, I need to make this right. What he realized was it was his actions that led to him being upset. You got to point the finger at yourself. And slowly, that mask that he was wearing, it started to be lifted. He was able to have a conversation with his daughter's mother. They were able to address some things. He was able to see his grandchild, his son, and his daughter. Mind you, he hadn't been in their lives for years. Absentee fathers, I'm going to say this right now. You are hiding to yourself because you don't want to take the responsibility. You want to make it a blame game. It's everybody else's fault. You want to make excuses. Another big part of that mask is the procrastination. This guy spent years not being in his children's life. And that procrastination, it morphed into regret. He decided to finally take it off. Instead of being in constant anger or denial, his choice was to step up. And sometimes it takes you being violently shifted for it to happen. As a matter of fact, Catherine Eden, she's at Northwestern University. She actually was talking about men in prison. When they are in prison, it affects change. One, in their children, it affects change because some of their kids are like, I'm not going to be like my father. I'm going to be different. And I know because my dad did the 10-year bid. I made it a point to be like, I am not going to prison. I'm not going to be like my father. When he got out, he chose not to be in me and my brother's life. He went to prison when I was 4. Now, I didn't see him again. No, I'll take that back. I didn't spend time with him until I was 47. I'm 53 now. So all those years I spent without a father figure. Now, I was blessed because I had good mentors in my life that stepped up and helped to give me some good game. When me and my father decided to have a relationship with each other, as I said, I was 47. He wanted an opportunity to see his grandkids. I have 2 daughters. My brother has a daughter and a son. So this man had 4 grandkids. When me and my brother made a decision to let him see his grandkids, I can say this. My father was a horrible father. Love him to death, but he was a horrible father. But he was a great grandfather. My kids, they miss him so much. My father's passed away now. But they truly cared about this man. He cared about them. He loved his grandbabies. And I think he figured that the time that he had missed with me and my brother, he can make up through the love of his grandchildren. Me and my brother had to put down a lot of stuff. That's the one thing that I want single fathers who have been absent in their children's life to understand, that it's going to take time. Your children have to heal. So it's not like just because you step in their life, everything's going to be all good. You have to earn that. That's another part of taking off that mask. Everything that you encounter is chipping away at pieces. And eventually, that mask comes off. Like I was talking about with the brother whose daughter was on the Super Bowl. When it comes to men and their daughters, our job as fathers, period, whether you're a single father or a married father, our jobs as fathers are to take care of our babies, and especially our daughters. Daughters can be vulnerable. I was doing some reading on the All Pro Dads website. It talked about there were 5 things that affect women or girls who are fatherless. The first one, they talked about that fear of being abandoned. Fear of abandonment. It's a situation that can be absolutely detrimental, because when that young girl enters a relationship, her fear is that that guy's going to leave her. And sometimes young ladies make the mistake of allowing a guy to mistreat them just so that he'll stay. We've heard stories of women being in abusive relationships, but still staying with the guy that's, frankly, that's kicking her ass. But it's because that fear of being abandoned. They don't want someone to leave them. So they rather get hurt just so that man won't leave them. Another thing that all pro dads talked about was the propensity to become promiscuous and vulnerable. Young ladies, that fear of abandonment might step in. Maybe before their time or before their want, they enter into relations that might not be beneficial to them. They're not realizing how important their bodies are. They're not understanding that if they're giving themselves away, that doesn't guarantee that that guy's going to stay. And that's where they become vulnerable, in hopes to find that guy that's going to be there for them. When you abandon your child, these are things they can be subject to. Another thing he talked about was the whole low self-esteem thing. And you see how this theme plays into each other? First off, the fear of being abandoned, feeling vulnerable, and then now your self-esteem lowers. There was a big thing with Instagram for a little while about body dysmorphia. And young girls were looking at these different images, feeling that they weren't good enough. It was lowering their self-esteem. It's interesting because as a father, your goal is to raise your children up. Whether it's a boy or a girl, that's irrelevant. You want to raise them up. Then when you When you find that your child has some low self-esteem, they look at themselves, they don't think they're good enough, that should affect you, especially if you are a single father, even more so if you're an absentee father. What you've done is contributed to that low self-esteem. Not as a single father, but as an absentee father. Another thing that the article talked about anxiety and jealousy. The last thing that All Pro Dads article talked about when it came to women, these young ladies end up skeptical, not trusting that a man is going to be there for them. If you're an absentee father, well, all you've done is shown your daughter that you're not going to be there. They're going to be skeptical, and that's going to affect their relationship. They can have a stand-up guy, but in their mind, they feel like this might not be the guy. And then there's some skepticism there. What it comes down to is that these absentee single fathers don't realize it's the fact that they've been hiding behind this illusionary mask for so long that it is affecting their kids and generations behind it. Like I said, this gentleman, he had no idea he had a grandchild. And the way he found out was because he entered a strip club one day and saw his daughter on the strip pole. And that led to him making a decision. He needed to step up to become a better father to his children. He had a boy and a girl and a grandchild. He had to put down the issues that he had with his children's mother. He had to raise his emotional intelligence and have a conversation with her so they could together work on a plan to be able to address this issue. Like I said, sometimes it does take being violently shaken up. Just like Catherine Eden was talking about in that article, her whole thing was men in prison can gravitate two ways. They can say, I'm not going back. And they can figure out how to manage through their life to become better versions of themselves. Or they can fall victim and go right back. The recidivism rate is pretty high. So when you do look at the situation, a absentee father, and a father in prison is a pretty absentee father, but when he comes out, he can make a decision to be in their lives. And this, what I'm saying is it's not going to be easy for you. So don't expect it to be. Don't think that just because you're back, that everything's going to be all good. It's not. You're going to have to work hard at it. But if you want to create a good relationship with your children, then you're going to be willing to work hard, especially because there were years you didn't step up to the plate to do your thing. There are a few ways absentee fathers can start chipping away at that map. And the first thing is you got to take responsibility. Now, when I say take responsibility, it doesn't mean blame yourself. You see, responsibility is a doorway. It will allow you to be able to look at your mistakes and figure out how to correct them. The next thing you need to do is you have to make a conscious decision to make change. You have to say to yourself, this is what I'm going to do so I can change. When you do that, you're accepting the responsibility. Another thing, this is strange, but it works. Do things counter to the way you used to do them. Get out of your comfort zone. Find some things that you normally wouldn't gravitate to and gravitate to them. I mean, if you were a television watcher all your time, grab a book, listen to a good podcast, one that is going to educate you. Doing this, it will allow you, now your mind is thinking differently. You're telling yourself, I'm going to take responsibility. I'm going to make a change. This is evidence of that change. I'm doing this. This is something I would never normally do, but I'm doing it and I'm learning how to become better through it. The other thing is don't quit. Don't get upset if the first 3, 4, 5 times that you reach out, you don't get any love, you don't get any respect. Understand that just like you forgot about them, they got lives too, and they forgot about you. So now it takes them mending their hearts. Look, my dad was out of my life from 4 to age 47. I had a lot of healing I needed to do. Me and my brother. But we made the decision to make sure that he could be in our children's lives. And I'm glad that I made that decision because like our babies loved their grandfather. And he was a great man to them. He did a great job being a grandfather. Yeah, he was a pretty shitty dad, but I let that go. I let it go so I could have my children build a great relationship with their grandfather. Now, the last thing that you need to do, if you want to peel that mask off, you got to stop lying to yourself. Remember when I talked about procrastination? Procrastination is a disguise for fear. And lying to yourself, saying things like, I'll do it later, I don't feel like it right now. When you have made the choice to allow your feelings to dictate your actions, you'll never get that mask off. You're gonna have to stop lying to yourself. Stop saying things like, I'll do it later. Do it right now. Get it done. Handle it. That right there gives you the onus that you're making the change you want to make. You're becoming a better version of yourself in the process. There are 2 reasons for the mask. Single fathers, they wear that mask form of protection. And it allows them to go out into the world, be that step up person that they've committed to be. The other is the absentee father that's making that choice not to be in their child's life. And that mask is more of a mask of hiding. No matter what has happened, you can fix it and learn to move forward. And when you learn to move forward, you're going to be a step up. You build a tight relationship with your children. Put down the past. It may be hard for them to put down the past. You put down the past and understand you need to work incredibly hard to be the father that you know you need to be. Thank you for coming back to see another episode of Navigating Single Fatherhood. Subscribe to my YouTube channel at JL3 Motivation 0108. You can get tips, advice, inspiration. Also, please put a comment that says, I'm taking off the mask. This way, I'm engaging with some men that they need this information. Make sure you like and share this information with as many single fathers as you can, whether they're absentee or not. We need motivation and inspiration. Like we are a small group and we need to make sure that we maintain unity and we build community amongst each other so we can get stronger along our single parenting journeys. Share this information with as many people as you can. I'll talk